Hi, how are you? This is Brando, and in this occasion, I will give you some expressions you can use with the possessive pronouns. Okay, I have here three different kinds of phrases, and you're going to be able to use the possessive pronouns in different ways now. Okay, so here we go. First, a very common expression is a friend of, and then you use any possessive pronoun to talk about one of your friends. Okay, we say, for example, a friend of mine, a friend of yours, a friend of his, a friend of hers, a friend of ours, a friend of theirs. To talk about one of your friends, one of his friends, one of our friends, etc. Okay, because we assume that you have at least more than one friend, so he's one of those friends. Okay, who's Jack? Jack is one of my friends, because Jack is a friend of mine. That would be the same as saying he's one of my friends. Okay, you have several, and he's one of those. He's one of those friends. Okay, let me give you some examples. I'm going to a wedding on Saturday. A friend of mine is getting married. You also say a friend of mine when you don't want to be specific. Okay, when you don't want to say if you don't want to be specific, you only want to say he's a friend of yours, or that he's just a friend. That's it. When you don't want to give a lot of information, you can say he's a friend of mine. I'm going to a wedding on Saturday. A friend of mine is getting married. We went on holiday with some friend of ours. Mike had an argument with a neighbor of his. In this way, you can see that you don't always use this expression with friends, because it can be to any group, like neighbors. We assume you have several neighbors, so he's one of those neighbors. Okay. It was a good idea of yours to go to the cinema. You have a lot of ideas, and one of them was to go to the movies. So it was a good idea of yours when you want to talk about one thing that belongs to a group. Okay. In the same way, you can say a friend of my sister's, a friend of Tom's. You don't necessarily have to use the possessive pronoun. You can say that woman over there is a friend of my sister's. It was a good idea of Tom's to go to the cinema. As I said before, you don't necessarily have to use the possessive pronoun. You can just say the name of the person, or how that person is related to you, and you remember to use the apostrophe and the s. Then I have other expression: my own, your own, his own, our own, their own. Okay, we use my own, my, your, his, her, its, our, their own before own when we want to talk about something that only belongs to me, to you, to her, to him, to them. Okay, like for example, I don't want to share a room with anybody. I want my own room. It talks about something that is not shared or borrowed, something that only belongs to one person or to a group of people. Vicky and Gary would like to have their own house. It's a shame that their apartment hasn't got its own parking space. It's not my fault that I've got no money. It's my own fault that I've got no money. I buy too many things I don't need. And why don't you want to borrow my car? Why do you want to borrow my car? Why don't you use your own? Okay, your own car. Okay, so you use my own, your own, her own, his own when you want to talk about something that belongs to one person or to a group of people. Okay. And finally, you use on, my own, on your own, on her own, or or whatever, okay, on their own. All the pronouns: my, your, his, her, his, her, its, or our, and their own. When you want, they mean alone. Okay, when you do something without somebody's help. Like, for example, I like living on my own or by myself. Okay, that's the other way you can say that, using myself, yourself, himself, herself, itself, ourself, yourself, and themselves. Okay, you can use either of them. They have the same meaning, and that means that when you do something without someone else's help, like I like living on my own, I like living by myself. They also mean alone. Did you go on holiday on your own, by yourself? I say no, with a friend. I didn't go alone, I went with a friend. Jack was sitting on his own by himself on a corner of the cafe. And learner drivers are not allowed to drive on their own by themselves. So these are the ways, these are the phrases I told you about. Okay, on my own, on your own, and my own, your own, talking about possession, and a friend of mine, a friend of yours, or a neighbor of mine, a neighbor of yours. Okay, thank you very much for paying attention. I hope it was useful, and I'll see you the next time. Hola, soy Brando y en esta ocasión les voy a hablar sobre varias expresiones que pueden utilizar con los pronombres posesivos y también con los pronombres reflexivos. Les voy a dar las definiciones, algunos ejemplos, para que puedan utilizarlo de una buena forma. ¿Okay? Voy a comenzar con la expresión a friend of, y luego se utilizan los pronombres posesivos mine, yours, his, hers, ours, theirs. Esto se utiliza para referirse a un amigo. O sea, porque nosotros asumimos que una persona tiene, aunque sea uno, dos amigos, tres amigos, no sé, depende de qué tan sociable seas, pero aunque sea 3, 5 amigos, qué sé yo. Y cuando hablo de uno de esos amigos, es porque digo él es un amigo mío, o un amigo de ella, o un amigo de él, etc. Voy a decir unas frases aquí. I'm going to a wedding on Saturday. A friend of mine is getting married. Voy a una boda el sábado. Un amigo mío se está casando o se va a casar. We went on holiday with some friends of ours. Mike had an argument with a neighbor of his. It was a good idea of yours to go to the cinema. Okay? No siempre estoy hablando de un amigo, también puedo hablar de varios amigos. Si tengo 10 amigos y voy con 5, algunos de mis amigos. Si tengo 5 vecinos y quiero hablar de uno solo, uno de mis vecinos, un vecino mío. También fue una buena idea tuya, porque si uno tiene varias ideas buenas o varias ideas y quiero hablar solamente de una, lo utilizo de esta forma, porque utilizando esta expresión me refiero a una cosa o persona perteneciente a un grupo. ¿Ok? Luego tengo la expresión donde utilizo los pronombres my, your, his, her, its, our, and their antes de la palabra own. Esta expresión quiere decir es posesivo y se refiere a algo que le pertenece a una sola persona o a un solo grupo, y esa cosa no es compartida ni prestada. ¿Okay? Cuando tiene un único dueño. Algunos ejemplos. I don't want to share a room with anybody. I want my own room. Vicky and Gary would like to have their own house. It's a shame that the apartment hasn't got its own parking space. It's my own fault that I've got no money. I buy too many things I don't need. Why do you want to borrow my car? Why don't you use your own? Recuerden que esta se utiliza cuando quiero hablar de posesión y es algo que me pertenece solo a mí, solamente a ti, solamente a ella, solamente a él, solamente a ellos. ¿Ok? Y también tenemos la expresión on my own o by myself. Se puede decir on, my, your, his, her, its, or their own. O se puede decir by myself, by yourself, by himself, herself, itself, ourselves y yourselves. ¿Ok? Themselves. Y estas dos frases significan exactamente lo mismo y quieren decir solo o sin la ayuda de nadie. Por ejemplo, I like living on my own by myself. Did you go on holiday on your own by yourself? Jack was sitting on his own by himself in a corner of the cafe. Learner drivers are not allowed to drive on their own by themselves. I learned English by myself on my own. ¿Ok? Estas expresiones quieren decir solo y también sin la ayuda de nadie más. Espero les haya gustado. Estas fueron diferentes expresiones que podemos utilizar con los pronombres reflexivos y los pronombres posesivos. Muchas gracias. Nos vemos en la próxima.